Bunch of stuff going on here. Matt the Boat Rat coming to you live from the local Starbucks in Santa Barbara on Chief Blackbear's YouTube channel. Somebody's showing up. Almost type person going by there. A couple people showing up there. This is Chief Blackbear book here. Those of you guys haven't read it yet, it's got my name on it and everything. Hater commonsensical, yeah. So this is my second live broadcast on Chief Blackbear's channel. This channel's gonna be given the ball, and we'll see how good this channel can run with the ball and see what this channel can do. Title of this show, Chief Blackbear Owns Cuba. And if you haven't read this book yet, you can listen to the entire audio book at chiefblackbear.com. And I've uploaded the entire prologue onto this YouTube channel. So I'm going to play right now scene 6 of the prologue, which takes place down in Cuba in the 1950s. So this will give you an understanding on how Chief Blackbear owns Cuba. If I can get it going here.
The chief ended up working for the sergeant in Cuba while the sergeant tried to get the shoot out of the steakhouse swept under the carpet. The problem with the Cuban operation was that Terry was supposed to be keeping an eye on Fidel Castro. Castro kept trying to make it with her. Gator, the chief, wanted to keep an eye on her. At that point, Castro's militia was armed with machetes. He needed some better weapons. He was trying to get them from Gator, the chief.
See there? Chief owns Fidel back then.
Florida driver's license saying his name was Joseph Edward Duffy. And Sergeant Duffy introduced the chief to Castro as his son. The sergeant knew Castro would be getting higher tech weapons from the Soviet Union. So he arranged for Gator, the chief, to smuggle a few hundred guns from
Too much
Florida.
noise.
The sergeant had a 50-foot cabin cruiser named Kateri that they used to smuggle the guns into Cuban water. Gator had tourists who liked to fish, and the locals.
Can you hear it any better?
They anchored the boat in a bay on the side of the island where Castro's men were to get it unloaded. As the weeks went on, Castro managed to raise enough money to buy more arms.
Cool, I'll just stay
When he
here.
came up short on cash, he traded alcohol and tobacco for the weapons.
See that?
He smuggled the alcohol and tobacco into Florida and sold it cheap to the Seminoles. Before long, Castro's militia was armed with 38s and 22s instead of machetes. Later, they were able to bring in some rifles.
It's not any better. Sorry.
The East had already taken over many of the highlands with handguns and machetes.
If it's not working, let me know, and I'll move on to something else.
Someone Kateri while Gator the chief were away. Castro knew Kateri liked the chief, but he wanted her to marry him. Kateri thought giving it up to him was part of her job, and she decided it was best to stay quiet about it. More than anything, she wanted to be with Joe. She suspected that he wanted to be with her, but he was showing respect because they were supposed to be brother and sister.
Can you hear this commonsensical?
Kateri stayed in Cuba as the revolution progressed and helped Castro coordinate his attacks. The chief played a big part in planning the attacks. They started out in the mountains where most of the people supported Castro. Those who did not fled to lower ground or were executed. Before long, Castro had control of all the islands and was ready to work his way down to the cities.
It's not working.
Joe and Kateri had started sleeping together. Jealous. He wanted Kateri, so he sent a hit to him after the chief. By then, Kateri was 4 months pregnant, but she
I don't know where everything went. Sorry for the sucky show. All right. So what that scene was see, back at Fidel started out armed with machetes back in Cuba in the 50s. Fidel Castro, there's a communist ruler named Batista back in the 50s and the 40s and stuff. And Fidel Castro was dreaming about overthrowing Batista, but he was just like a kid. And so Sergeant Duffy takes the chief, and he's already got Kateri and Gator, who are like his other. The sergeant raises like Joe and Mike and Gator and Kateri within his little group of proteges. Like the sergeant is in with Eisenhower, and he's like a military guy from World War II and Korea and all this stuff. The sergeant is, and he kind of works in the intelligence field back in the day. And so it's the Sergeant Duffy that gets the chief and Gator and Kateri and Mike to take the guns down to Fidel Castro back in the 50s. And Fidel pays for the guns with alcohol and tobacco that the chief and Mike and Gator and Kateri, they bring it back to Florida and sell it to the Seminoles. Now, the Seminole connection is that Gator and Kateri are Seminole. Okay, now, Gator and Kateri are more involved than the chief and Mike. And Kateri, Fidel's actually in love with Kateri, and so is the chief. But Fidel got to her first. And then when the chief started bringing the guns down there, the chief and Kateri kind of fell for each other. They actually fall in love with each other. And so Fidel Castro is jealous that the chief took his woman. And if you follow this new Chief Blackbear stuff, the love triangles are pretty significant. So Chief Blackbear, Fidel Castro, and Kateri, Kahachi's her last name, back in the 50s, they got this love triangle thing going on to where the chief actually winds up with Kateri, and there's a big shootout and stuff, and they jump on their boat and come back to Florida. And then after Kateri has the baby, Fidel puts the hit out on the chief but misses him and actually hits Kateri, the chief's wife and mother of his kid, that Fidel Castro and the chief are both like madly in love with her. Now Fidel Castro just killed Kateri back in the early 60s. And there's the Kennedy thing going on and the Cuban Missile Crisis after that, okay? So Little Bear is born before the Cuban Missile Crisis. And during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kateri is killed. The mother of Little Bear, the wife of Chief Blackbear, is killed by Fidel Castro's people, by Rico Rodriguez, who is a Che Rivera type person. Hey there, Melinda and Joni and Commonsensical. You guys can hear me now, right? Yes, Kateri gets shot in the story in a car chase, and they're shooting after the chief, but he's got, driving a Caddy convertible back in the day, like a 63 Cadillac convertible. And, they, big car chase, and they wreck up the cars and everything. You got to read the book. You got it. You didn't read it straight through, I guess. You skipped the prologue, which is this part. So in the prologue of Chief Blackbear, the chief, they help out Fidel overthrow the Batistas. So then when Fidel Castro does overthrow Batista, the chief owns Fidel from the beginning, and so does Sergeant Duffy. And then we get President Kennedy, and see the Russians. See, the reason we had Chief Blackbear giving the guns to Fidel was so that the Russians wouldn't do it. You follow that? See, back then, Chief Blackbear saved Cuba from the Russians because Chief Blackbear took over Cuba. Okay? And so later in the story, in the saga, after all of that, the Russians come in, like the chief comes back to Florida and Fidel kills his wife. So now, and the mafia gets involved from Chicago. So you had the mafia down in Cuba back then, also, who was also Chief Blackbear's enemy. So the chief actually in the 60s had the Chicago mafia and Fidel Castro teaming up together. Actually, the mafia pointed the finger at the chief. They sold him out. See, the mafia hooked up with Fidel and Raul back then in actually the late 50s, early 60s. The mafia was already in on it because they tracked the chief down there. You follow that? In the mafia actually kills two of the chiefs. I mean, Blackbear himself and his son. And they're after the third chief. And he runs down to Cuba and takes the guns down to Cuba, but the mafia follows him down there. And so then him and Kateri and Mike and Gator, they bring like a boatload of guns, not guns, but alcohol and tobacco, because Fidel didn't have any cash. So they bring that back to the States. And like the chief's owning bars and stuff. I mean, he's like a swinger back in the 60s, right? He's not really a CIA guy. He just gets brought into it by Sergeant Duffy, who rescues the chief when they blow up the chief's steakhouse over a game of pool, because the chief's a pool shark and he's playing pool for money. And Campanero, the head of the mafia, and Olivetti, what happens is Campanero actually kills Olivetti at the big shootout at the chief's steakhouse. It was actually Campanero that killed Olivetti and blamed it on the chief. And then Campanero blew up the chief's steakhouse during the gunfight. But Sergeant Duffy and the chief, and that's the first time that the chief met Kateri, was back then when they were in their, like they were young. At the chief's steakhouse, the sergeant brought Kateri and Gator there to Chicago. But when the sergeant showed up with and Gator and Kateri are twins. And when the sergeant showed up with them, the chief was in the midst of a pool game, a pool tournament. They were playing for who goes broke first, the chief or the mafia, and they were playing for $10,000 a game. And well, you have to listen to the game. It's pretty good before a big fight breaks out over. Vinny Van Gucci was the pool shark, and he started to play that N-word pool. Yeah, Joni read the book with Vinny. Yeah, right. So the chief is playing pool with Vinny Van Gucci. He's a pool shark brought in from New York, a big-time pool shark, to play the chief for $10,000 a game. Where Chief don't even get to shoot for the first 3 or 4 games. So he's like down 30, 40 grand right off the get-go. And the mafia's getting all cocky. Everybody, and they're buying the chief drinks. It's his club, the Chief Steakhouse. And so, and this is when he meets Kateri, his future wife. Now, at this point, Kateri's already in with Fidel down in Cuba. And the sergeant brings the twins, who is Kateri and Gator, to Chicago to try to get the chief to help bring some guns down to Cuba. Okay, and the sergeant's big time in the CIA, and he's a big time World War II veteran and Korean veteran. He does what Eisenhower tells him, but now Eisenhower's out of the picture. Think, wait a minute, Eisenhower's still president. Eisenhower's still president at this point. Yes, Eisenhower's president, and Sergeant Duffy's like Eisenhower's wingman. I mean, Sergeant Duffy does what he's told. So Eisenhower's telling Sergeant Duffy to get the chief and get some guns and go down and take care of Cuba to stop the Russians from coming in. So Sergeant Duffy's coming to Chicago to get the chief, and the chief's busy playing pool for $10,000 a game. And now it's the chief's shot because something happened and Vinny finally misses. So now the chief gets to run the table for a while, and the chief comes back, makes some money because, you know, a few games without missing. And then Vinny finally gets to shoot again. And something happens, and Vinny goes playing some N-word pool. And the chief's like, hey, what the F's that? You ain't no freaking N-word pool in this club. No fucking way. And Vinny's like, I didn't see no sign that said that. And Chief goes asking Kateri for a pen. And so she goes in her purse and breaks out a pen. And the Chief writes, no N-word pool on a napkin. And he sticks it on a nail in the wall and says, what's that say? And then, that shit don't go. And so then Chief goes calling him a chump. And then Vinny's like, who are you calling a chump? So then they get into a big old barroom fight, you know, and next thing you know, bullets are flying everywhere. And Campanero shoots Olivetti. So the chief just shot Olivetti. So all the guns are after the chief, and then they had gas, because it's back in the day, and they had gas lamps on the wall. Campanero goes shooting the gas lamps, and the walls are all wood walls. And so all the walls light on fire and stuff, and so they get out of there. But Jocko got shot. Jocko got shot and killed, and Jocko was the chief's uncle, Blackjack's brother, and Blackjack's a kid, and he's with him. Blackjack's there at the bar when it all happens, and so Blackjack and Chief and Mike and Gator and Kateri and the sergeant, they all get away, I think in the chief's Cadillac, back in the 50s. So they go on down to Florida, and then they jump on the boat. The boat's name is Kateri, named after Kateri. It's the sergeant's boat. And they load it up with guns and take it down to Cuba. And so then Fidel starts to take over Cuba because now he's got some guns. And he's got some, they're called Fidelistas. Fidel had the Fidelistas, but they only had machetes, and they were in the mountains. And so when the chief took him guns, the chief and the sergeant taught Fidel how to fight. They didn't know shit. And so they come down and take over Havana. And so then after they take over Havana, they own the place. So that's how the chief got Cuba way back then in the 50s. Now, you know that Fidel died recently, as did George H.W. Shrub. So, and now, you guys know Costa Rica's back in the news. Okay, look. Now, you guys know from my regular show, Matt Boat Rat, currently in 2021, Chief Blackbear has his daughter Commander-in-Chief of Canada. You guys know that in the chat room, right? Melinda, Joni, Metalhead. You guys know that Chief Blackbear has his daughter, Commander-in-Chief of Canada, since February 2021. So now we've established the fact that Chief Blackbear owns Cuba. Okay, so you established the fact Chief Blackbear owns Cuba to this day, 2021. Chief Blackbear might own Epstein's Island right now. I actually think Chief Blackbear owns Epstein's Island. We'll go ahead and say he took it, okay? I'm saying that right up front. Chief Blackbear, he just went in and took Epstein's Island. Epstein got arrested. Chief Blackbear took it. So now Chief Blackbear got Epstein's Island. He's got Cuba. He's got Canada. And I just heard today he took Costa Rica. Now, you guys know he's tied to all them countries already. Not so much Canada, but Chief Blackbear is all about Cuba and Costa Rica. I mean, the whole story takes place in those places practically. So now we got Chief Blackbear owning Cuba, owning Epstein's Island, Commander-in-Chief of Canada, and I'm not sure what's going on in Costa Rica, but we'll find out. Now, real quick, I'm going to try to stay on the show. If this works, I'm going to try to bring up the internet on another window somehow. And I'm going to try to, I hope I'm still on TV. I'm trying to bring up something to read. Okay, this is my first time on the computer at this website. I did it on my phone. I'm going to try to read this. See how it looks on the computer first. This is good. Okay, I'm going to read the Slickmeisters. The thing that I tried to say on the other show, private internet access. Oh man, wait a second. Dang, you gotta like pay to be a member of the site as of like a few minutes ago. This ain't right. If they were to do it on my phone, I could read it. Come on now. I think I'm gonna be able to read it, okay. I can, okay. I don't wanna get Joni's glasses that she gave me because I haven't even tried them yet, but I can blow it up on the font. I'm gonna switch windows back to the TV show if I can find it. Okay, I see. Okay, now can you guys? Were you guys able to see me when I was in the other window? You guys are all still there in the chat room. You guys are all talking about the UFOs and stuff. Were you guys able to see me when I was in the other? Well, I'm going to go ahead and okay. I'm going to go ahead and read the Slickmeisters Tribunal. But this is what I was talking about at that boat rat that I paraphrased. The reason I want to read, I just need to practice reading. Okay, and I really suck at reading, but I'm going to just try it because I need to practice reading off a computer. So here I go. I'm going to give it a shot. On Monday afternoon, William Jefferson Clinton, dressed in a white jumpsuit and handcuffed, swaggered into Gitmo's South courtroom and flashed a smile at the three-officer commission tasked with judging the judge advocate general's case against him in what can be described only as a surreal scenario. One panelist, a female Air Force captain, returned the smile and told Clinton, "It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. President." Got to scroll down a little bit here, excuse me. I just did scroll too much. I'm sorry not to be good with the computer. Bear with me, that's why I got you guys to learn how to do this. Okay. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. President. Vice Admiral John G. Hannock, present to prosecute JAG's case, which I don't know what JAG is, looked at the officer, who we will call Captain Ashley Redding, in stunned silence. He then reprimanded her, asking her why she had breached protocol by engaging the defendant in civil discourse. Captain Redding looked at both Vice Admiral Hannock and the other two panelists with a furtive grin. Her face reddened, and she admitted she was once Clinton's fan and had voted for him twice. I can't help it. People love me, Bill Clinton said. Vice Admiral Hannock ordered Clinton's MP escort to drag him back to his cell, then cleared the courtroom except for Captain Redding. He asked whether her warm greeting to Clinton was facetious or sarcastic, and she confessed that she had developed a fondness for Clinton long before she had joined the armed forces. As with all commissioned volunteers, Captain Redding had been vigorously vetted prior to selection. She was one of 350 officers who had volunteered to judge the military evidence against Bill Clinton without bias, passion, or prejudice. In fact, JAG officials spent several hours interviewing her to ensure she could impartially adjudicate evidence. Captain Redding told Vice Admiral Hannock that she lied on a questionnaire and had deceived interviewers who had asked if she had personal feelings for Clinton. One way or another, she said her childhood crush would not hamper her sagacity to deliver fair judgment. I simply got lost in the moment at seeing him, she told Vice Admiral Hannock. I'd wanted to meet him all my life, but that won't affect my ability to judge him fairly. Vice Admiral Hannock was not impressed. You betrayed your oath to the U.S. military and to this court. You are dismissed and consider yourself lucky we won't seek punitive action against you. He said that William Jefferson Clinton's tribunal would begin in a few days after JAG had correctly vetted a third member of the commission. So that's the kind of stuff I read on my phone. How'd I do? Were you guys able to hear me? Did I come in okay? I'm just trying to read you guys in the chat here. Well, I don't know how good of a show this is. This is Chief Blackbear's channel. If the show's no good, it's all the Chief's fault. So that was one tribunal. It didn't go too good. Clinton and the captain started flirting with each other. She had a childhood crush on him. The Slick Meister. He only gets a few days, though. I guess they're going to have a real tribunal like after the weekend. I hope I don't get thrown in YouTube jail or nothing for reading that. What do you guys think? You think they're going to get me? I mean, I read it on Chief's channel, so the Chief's he ain't even been de-virginized yet. He's never got any strikes or no warnings or nothing against him. Ah, come on, Melinda, be nice to the Slickmeister. I don't think he sucks. It's the other way around. It's the captain. What was her name? Captain. The captain sucks. Clinton is the sucky. In most cases, right? I mean, Melinda, when you say Clinton sucks, unless you, well, I don't know about Mrs. Clinton. Now, let's not bring them cigars in on because this is a Cuban thing. And you know that cigars were Cuban cigars. Now, I'll venture to say that the Slickmeister got his cigars from the chief. What do you think about that? I mean, where do you think Clinton got his cigars, Joni? Melinda, what do you think? You know they're Cuban cigars. You know the chief owns Cuba. Where do you think the Slickmeister got his cigars? Melinda, you're a little young. I don't know if you know what the Slickmeister was doing with them cigars. Do you know, Melinda? I know Joni knows what the Slickmeister did with cigars. Them hand-rolled cigars in Cuba. I think the chief rolled it. The 19th president, it's not going to come out until after we get rid of President Harris. Before we get the 19th president, we got to find out that we got a test tube baby for president that was born in another country. But yeah, I like talking about the Slickmeister and Captain Redding. That's her name, Captain Redding. Don't you think that's classic? The Slickmeister and the court-martial judge flirting with each other like that. She had a childhood crush on the Slickmeister. Like, Melinda, you were just a kid back then. But Joni can tell you, didn't all the women have a crush on the Slickmeister? I mean, what were they were calling them gorbasms, but maybe the gorbasms weren't from Al Gore. Clinton was causing all these women to have these orgasms back then. All of the American women, what did Rushbrook call them? They were called the gorbasms. Maybe that was about Gorbachev. Oh, the gorbasms came from Gorbachev. He's the one that started the gorbasms. All the women were having these gorbasms over Gorbachev. But then the Slickmeister came along and women just melted. I mean, Joni can tell you about it because she's old enough. Melinda, you're too young. And Joni, not trying to say that you're old enough, but you are. I mean, Joni's my age, okay? But Joni, do you know, weren't all the women just like having, they were called gorbasms for some reason over at Slickmeister, like way back then. And then he broke out the cigar on Monica Lewinsky. And then she started having the gorbasms, but it was with a cigar. Seriously, man, that's what. But that was to cover up the Chi-Com thing. Because see what had happened, according to John Jr. See, John was onto this, who was bros with Chief Blackbear, okay? Now, John leaked the information to the chief way back then, okay? So what went down was the whole cigar thing and the whole Ken Starr thing and the whole Clinton sex scandal thing. That was all a cover-up for what was really going on. What was really going on was that the Chi-Coms bought the Slickmeister with cash money. right? P. Miller, you there? Remember? No, I don't remember Junior reading Lewinsky's poem on the Tonight Show. No, but that's what we're talking about. See, John Jr. gave us the heads up way back then, right, P. Miller? Seriously, this is back in those days. John Jr. was in with the chief way back then, and it really wasn't about the Monica Lewinsky thing. It was really about taking money from the Chi-Coms because they had bought the election. Seriously, it's true. And that's what they got caught for. And that's why the Slickmeister was up flirting with Captain Redding in front of Vice Admiral Hannock. The reason the Slickmeister is in Cuba right now today, wearing the cuffs and the white jumpsuit, was because he sold our ass to China back in '92. Right, Pete? See, you guys know I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the whole cigar thing, the whole Cuban cigar thing was a cover-up for selling us to the Chi-Coms, just like it was a cover-up for the Cuban Missile Crisis. See, Chief Blackbear's been tied to this shit since the beginning, and he still is. Right, Johnny? No, it said a white suit. The article said a white suit, not an orange suit. Now we see white or the orange suits like with Siete, and we see that on the internet, but the article that I believe to be legit, because the only source said a white suit. It is all a cover-up, yes. As is the scamdemic. Is a cover-up for what? What's the scamdemic covering up? What's really going on? And by the way, I met this colonel today, Joni, that I wish you could have met this colonel with me. He served under General Petraeus. He doesn't have a TV. And I told him about Chief Blackbear and about how the chief hacked the Evergreen Ever Given ship. But we're down at the beach, we're just talking, there's some of those guys, right? And this one guy, Gene, somehow the container ship thing comes up. And I go talking about how the three biggest businesses in the world are taking place on them container ships. And I go asking if those guys knew what the three biggest businesses in the world are. And Gene goes talking about alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. I'm like, damn, Gene, you're smarter than I thought. Now, what's the chief involved in? Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, right? The whole Cuban thing, right? Okay, but that's back in the day. Now, the chief even upgraded from alcohol, tobacco, and firearms to drugs, weapons, and human trafficking. Got some music here. We're going live in Santa Barbara. Chief Blackbear, yo! Okay, so the chief's he's drugs, alcohol, and firearms, and human trafficking. I mean, the chief was trafficked, and he trafficked. I mean, you guys read the book. The chief's all about human trafficking, okay? I mean, I don't know the nice word for kids snatching and this and that, but I mean, the chief's all about alcohol, tobacco, firearms, drugs, weapons, human trafficking. Okay, so now this is today. I'm telling the colonel This is a real life colonel served under General Petraeus right here in Santa Barbara. He's like a 70-year-old man. I'm talking to this man today. So now the container ships come up. I talk about how the chief crossed up the Evergreen, Ever Given ship in the Suez Canal, and then sent aircraft carrier Roosevelt over there along with hospital ship Mercy to the Suez Canal and offloaded the Evergreen, Ever Given ship. And we know the contents. And I made mention there's over 1,000 dead people on that ship along with nukes. And by the way, you guys know a lot of them containers have been offloaded in the United States of America, right? Now notice all the distractions when we start talking about the facts going on, right? It's hard to bring you the lowdown, what's going on at container ships, the containers right here in America and in Egypt. Where's Princess Diana? She's all shacking up with the chief, right? In Egypt, Montecito, where is Princess Diana? Where's Chief Blackbear? Why did they need that hospital ship to go from LA to Egypt? So I go tell him the colonel and Gene, none of them ever did any acid. They don't know nothing about doing no LSD. I don't know if LSD and acid is the same thing, but I know a little bit about MK Ultra. And I know a little bit about Operation Paperclip, as did the colonel who served under General Petraeus. Now, I don't think the colonel knows anything about acid, like actually doing it, or LSD. Any of you guys? Any of you guys know anything about doing acid or LSD or anything? Any of you guys know about MK Ultra? Any of you guys know about mind control? How do you think they brainwashed somebody into shooting President Reagan? How do you think they brainwash somebody into shooting John Lennon? You guys, okay, so what I suggested that in these really good drugs, see the conversation with the colonel and with Gene, I get into a little bit of technology and science, talking about how they come up with these ideas. And I'm asking the colonel, we're starting to talk about some of these tunnels here in Santa Barbara. I'm asking the colonel what's going on in them tunnels down there in Santa Barbara. Are there any kind of creatures down there? Now, what about them creatures that were supposed to get flooded in the Great Flood that Gene brings up? They fell from the sky and got stuffed in them tunnels. Chief Blackbear shot them from the sky in 1946 with Nikola Tesla. Why was all that technology hidden for 100 years? Why does it take Chief Blackbear to bring out wireless electricity now? Why does it take Chief Blackbear and Bo Rat Matt to stop 5G from showing up in Santa Barbara now? So those guys don't understand how doing acid and LSD makes you smarter, gives you better ideas. Those guys didn't understand the wine of immorality. But the sad thing about the colonel, from real life experience serving under General Petraeus, and those are the guys that bring up the container ships, not me. They bring it up. I just bring up the business going down on those container ships. Are the three biggest businesses in the world that are financing Wall Street: drugs, weapons, human trafficking. Okay, but what we know on this show, or at least on Matt Boat Rat, is what kind of drugs are being made on that ship, Evergreen, Ever Given, and the others. We know what kind of drugs are being made in those tunnels. We don't write it on this show, but on this show, we know what the wine of immorality that Babylon, the great prostitute, has the kings of the world drunk on. But we don't write it in the chat room, but we know it, right? But today, when I'm talking, this is a hardened criminal. Some of you guys have seen me cry on that boat rat. Excuse me. I didn't mean to call the colonel a hardened criminal. I misspoke. Because I'm getting a little broken up remembering this conversation today. Try to keep it on a high vibe, but bringing it down to what's going on in them container ships ain't such a high vibe. Okay, so now I'm talking with the colonel who served under General Petraeus, who knows reality not from the internet and not from TV, but from being a colonel, a real colonel in the United States military, okay? This is like a 70-something-year-old man right here in Santa Barbara today on June 18th, 666. You follow that? What's the cubic root of 18? Or what's 666? We're 618, okay? Talking about the colonel today on 618, who I'm making sense to him because he knows he's got a realistic perspective of life from being a colonel in the military. Now he's retired, okay, and he's here in Santa Barbara, standing on his cane today talking to me. And he's aware that I'm right, that alcohol, tobacco, excuse me. See, we upgraded alcohol, tobacco, and firearms to drug, weapons, and human trafficking. Now I'm making sense on how the way they come up with their technology, with their brainiac ideas, is from doing the drug. Okay? I'm saying that acid makes you come up with better ideas. Like that's what Walt Disney did. Okay? Like Walt Disney would do acid and come up with Mickey Mouse and all this stuff. Okay? And then next thing you know, Mickey Mouse and Disney, by the way, a Chi-Com-owned corporation, learn how to control us by using LSD, acid. I've done it. I understand. I don't know if I've done LSD, which I think is more powerful than acid. But what it does is it expands your imagination. Not in a way through your third eye, okay? It's in a different direction. But you can learn, you can expand your imagination through drugs is what I'm saying. Okay, so now there's a drug that's like 100 times more powerful than LSD. It's like LSD on steroids. And that's what I call the wine of immorality, that they are recycling these children into. And that's what's going on in these container ships. But today, talking to the colonel, who is a hardened soldier, he's seen it all. And he said, by the way, he never, ever left anybody behind. And to that I said, where we go one, we go all. Thank you, Colonel, for taking care of us. But when I told him about, and he didn't know about the Evergreen, Ever Given ship because he doesn't have a TV or the internet. He's retired. But when I told him about how they're using, these children to produce those drugs, And the mind control, and he was aware of MK Ultra, and he was aware of Operation Paperclip, not from TV and that kind of stuff, but from being a colonel and from being a very smart, educated man. Read a lot of books and stuff, but not computers and the internet. Although I'm sure he's pretty good with it, but he was and he was aware how General Petraeus got set up. I mean, he knows General Petraeus. They're friends. He works for General Petraeus. And General Petraeus got set up for writing in a book. Okay, now you got all these people like the Slickress and her emails and all that going on, and servers and this and that. General Petraeus wrote in a book and got busted, and I think he had to do time. And this colonel was heartbroken over that. But then when the colonel realized the truth about those container ships, and he was suspicious about it, but I gave him the lowdown. And there's other people around. And I could see he was about to choke up and start crying. This real colonel in the military, a man I'm talking to, because I'm giving him the lowdown from my perspective, the stuff you guys know about. He about starts to cry, and I apologized to him, and I wanted to hug him. I just patted him on the shoulder, and I did apologize. I told him I was sorry because I could see it was hurting him, knowing the truth. But he already was suspicious of it. But me breaking the news to him, it hurt him, and I apologized. But it was an enriching experience to me because it was one of the first times I was able to break the truth to a real American hero. I mean, this is a real colonel. And other beach bums. He's not a beach bum, okay? Neither is Gene, and neither are any of the guys, okay? And Joni's been there with me. I was just there copping a dime of weed, okay? It ain't supposed to get that heavy duty just copping a dime of weed. But it is. That's reality. Talking about buzzkill, but it wasn't. It was a great experience. I was so honored to meet this colonel. I mean, I just love this man for who he is and what he put on the line his entire life. I mean, it's not easy to become a colonel. And this man, and he was in Iraq and that kind of, I think, wherever he was, he didn't leave anybody behind. And he was with General Petraeus, wherever that was. And I was just honored to meet that man. I'm going to close it up. If you guys haven't gotten the Chief Blackbear book, I know a lot of you have, and you're enjoying it, but get it at chiefblackbear.com. Had fun doing this live stream. Keep an eye on Costa Rica. Chief's up to no good. Keep an eye on that Three Gorges Dam, China. When that dam goes, China goes. Watch the water, and you might watch the satellites, the quantum system, quantum financial. The whole quantum system, it's in the satellites, okay? They're going to knock down the old satellites. The new satellites are already up. They launch them from Vandenberg Space Force right here, spooking my horses. I mean, I know what's going on, freaking causing my batteries to go dead, my car to get hacked. I mean, this new satellite, and you guys just watched me get knocked off the internet. I mean, at Matt Boat-Rat, I can't even talk about this stuff for 5 minutes. I can't even get to my boat before my show's knocked off the internet, okay? And I got to be careful about giving you the full lowdown. And I'm holding back, and I held back with the colonel. And you guys know I'm holding back for your own good, okay? I'll give it to you in little drips. So to keep you coming back. So Melinda, you're going to have to do the same thing Joni did. Melinda, whenever you're ready to come to Santa Barbara, I'll sign your book. You just bring your book to Santa Barbara because I don't even have an address. But Joni brought the book to Santa Barbara and hung out with me for a couple days. And I'm sure she'll be back. Joni's been here more than once. All you guys, you want a signed copy of my book? You bring it to Santa Barbara and I'll sign it. And by the way, Melinda, check this out, Melinda and Joni and everybody that's read my book. My long lost Uncle Jack just called me about 2 or 3 days ago, and Uncle Jack is the guy, Black Jack, in the book. He just called me a couple days ago, and he's in San Antonio, Texas, Melinda, so perhaps I can visit you and sign a book. Because my uncle's aging and he has Parkinson. He's on a cane and wheelchair and that kind of stuff. Perhaps you can meet him, Melinda. How close are you to San Antonio, Melinda? How close are you to San Antonio? I guess you're a slow typer. Joni stopped by Glendale. I will. You go to San Antonio? Okay, well, I might be going there, but we'll have to see what goes on with this. You know, Joni and other people are telling me to gas up my boat. I might be going to the islands out here to get away. You know, California's got some shit coming our way. So, you know, I'm stuck in between Vandenberg Space Force Base and Port Hueneme. So, I'm not sure what's coming down in California. You know, Joni's a little scared of them Black Lives Matter protests. But I think they're probably worse in Texas than they are here. But see, what I was trying to tell you on that boat rat is how we got to import the war, because us Americans, we're not fighting each other. So we got to import the war from, like, they're coming over to Mexican and Canadian borders. So all the Chi-Coms are sending, like, well, we already took down, we got like 60,000 of them in one tunnel. Like, I think it was in Michigan. We took out like one tunnel that had like 60,000 Chi-Coms. Yeah, that's right. Melinda is in the new chief Blackbear. I guess a lot of you guys are. But Melinda is assigned to help protect Princess Diana. Now, Melinda, you know Princess Diana is here in Santa Barbara. So I don't know what you're doing in Texas, Melinda, if you're supposed to be protecting Princess Diana. But actually, now Harry and Meghan are here, which are Chief Blackbear and Princess Diana's kids. I think that Princess Diana and Chief Blackbear are currently in Egypt, but I don't have the complete lowdown. My battery's going dead. So the main thing I can tell you, Melinda, you're saying that Princess Diana's here in California. Okay, you're probably right. But I haven't seen them lately. But you're supposed to be guarding Princess Diana, Melinda. So I don't know what you're doing in Texas, Melinda, when you are, right. See, Melinda, you're agreeing with me. You're supposed to be guarding Princess Diana, right? Now, you know that Princess Diana and Chief Blackbear have a new baby grandkid. Now, doesn't Lilibet sound like Lilibert, Joni? Joni, doesn't Lilibert? You gotta tell me that Lilibet's not Lilibert's grandkid? Okay. You guys tell me in the chat room, who is Lilibet's grandfather. You guys both, Little Bear, okay, okay. Now, Melinda, you guys are aware that Little Bear has grown into the chief, right? Okay. Melinda's, her job is protecting Princess Diana. Melinda's assigned to this duty. Now, I'm just the guy telling the story. I don't particularly know where Princess Diana is. Now, Melinda's asking me to sign the book. I know that baby Lilibet, that's Little Bear with a T, not an R. Baby Lilibet is here in Santa Barbara right now today. Now, Princess Meghan and Princess Harry are also here in Santa Barbara. At least the holograms are. Now, they could be robots, or they could be actors or something. And in all honesty, I don't even know if Lilibet's a real baby, okay? And I'm saying Princess Meghan is actually a test tube baby, but it was Chief Blackbear's sperm. Because Chief Blackbear's the ultimate war hero, and that's what you got to duplicate. And all of this is about eugenics. Don't you get it? It's about eugenics. You got to create this super race. Now, what is more super race than Chief Blackbear combined with Royal English? On both ends, you got Princess Diana, the mother of Harry, and you got Chief Blackbear, the father of Meghan. So then Princess Lilibet has the ultimate super warrior hero DNA, and she's a female. But I will not, me, Bo Rat Matt, the future mayor of Santa Barbara, will not allow them to turn Lilibet into a transgender. She will remain a super DNA hero woman. Now, you know, if the deep state end of that created this mess, you know, if they got their way, Princess Lilibet would have a microchip in her. She'd be born with the microchip. But you see, you got me, Boat Rat Matt, and the chief messing everything up. See, the chief done went rogue a long time ago. And so did John Jr. and Princess Diana went rogue too, okay? We all went rogue on the deep state system. I'm just a guy telling the story. I've been rogue all my life, okay? I never bought into this shit. I never did. But that's how I'm involved, you know. But those guys went rogue also. And so, and one of the primary reasons I'm running for mayor of Santa Barbara is to protect Princess Lilibet and Prince Harry, Princess Meghan, and all the women and children in Santa Barbara. I want to protect all of them against predators, the deep state predators, like our current entire Santa Barbara government, from the mayor all the way through city council to every single paid job in Santa Barbara. In order to qualify to get a job in Santa Barbara, you have to take a litmus test and pass the deep state philosophy. And if you're not a tyrant, they won't hire you. But when I'm mayor of Santa Barbara, I'm going to change that. I'm going to get rid of tyranny and run it out of town. And I'm going to protect the women and children of Santa Barbara including Princess Megan and Princess Lilibet, who I think is named after Little Bear, and Diana. See, Little Bear and Diana are both the grandparents, but both the parents also. It's kind of like incest, but it's not. But it is eugenics, which is what it's all about, is eugenics. But in Chief Blackbear and with me, you're not going to get the artificial intelligence inside a human being. That's within the other folks, the folks that we're fighting against. They have the artificial intelligence inside the human body, which is where the microchip was going. See, once you got your microchip, you could upgrade it. You got to get a new microchip every 2 or 3 years, you know. They say, oh, you need a new battery, but they actually put it in a new hard drive. And so before you know it, the artificial intelligence. And what I was selling, what I'm offering to sell, and you guys can buy it, and I'll tie it in on the quantum financial system. We'll have a quantum chip scene. I got to leave the VAC out of there. The quantum chip scene system, to where for only $50 a month, I'm only going to charge you $50 a month for your chip scene, but you got to pay $100 down. I'll give you for $100 down. I will sell you your own chip scene, and you will never again have to carry a computer or a device or a phone. Everything your computer and your device does will just appear in your brain. Not only charge you $50 a month, and it will be directly connected to your. And so you're $50, and I will get on the planet to get this. Okay? So everybody on the planet will buy my chip scene. This is not Chief Blackbear, by the way. This is me, Matt the Boat Rat. I'm going to sell everybody the artificial intelligence that I will inject into your body with a needle, and it will protect you from viruses also. But the main thing about it is you will never again need a phone or a computer. Anything that comes over your phone or computer will just appear in your brain, and I'm only going to charge you $50 a month for it for the rest of your life, and it will direct deposit into my bank account. And then when you die, your bank account will just become my bank account, and I'm only going to charge you $50 a month for that the rest of your life. And I can sell you stock in my corporation. So if any of you want to buy stock in my corporation, you just call me up, okay? Linda, you're buying? Joni, okay? Okay, well, we got it, okay. I'll sell you stock in a corporation, and we'll take over the world. We'll freaking get everybody chipped. We'll own all the satellites, and it's only going to cost everybody on the planet $50 a month, and anything they can get off the computer or the phone will just appear in their brain, a direct connect from brain to the other person's brain. You'll be able to communicate to anybody telepathically through the artificial intelligence that our corporation, all you guys that buy into it, are gonna buy into this corporation, and we're just gonna inject it right into the people that are dumb enough to buy it, which is gonna be you guys. You're gonna buy the stock and the injection. Chips and guacamole. There you go. A perfect code name. That's it. Chips and guacamole. It goes right along with the killer ways at the Cinco de Mayo cake. Who wrote that? I gotta scroll up somehow. Wait. Where's the chips and guacamole? I just saw that. Dang. Yeah. Joni. Oh, man, I love you, Joni. That is the best code ever. Doesn't it match up perfect with the killer ways at the Cinco de Mayo gig? You gotta have the chips and guacamole. I mean, that is California. Joni, my right-hand woman. Oh, that's awesome. Got Melinda on the payroll, looking after the princess. Who else we got on the payroll here? P. Miller. Not for mayor stickers on those fancy cars. No, I don't want no bumper stickers. I'll put those on the signs and on all, like the stop signs. The sticker will say Pro Rat Mac for mayor, and it'll be a sunset. Just stick it on the signs, and like on Starbucks window right over there. Like on all those windows is where I'll put the stickers that say Pro Rat Mac for mayor. Santa Barbara, of course, and then like a sunset and a palm tree. Stickers are a great idea. Great idea. I got to get that quick. I'm going to say boatratmat.com. Advertise everybody in my show. I'll get them boatratmat.com stickers everywhere. Boat Rat Mat for mayor. We got to get Chief Blackbear for governor, and that's going to make Princess Diana First Lady of California. So Melinda, you got to get your shit together, sweetheart, because I'm not signing your book here in Santa Barbara, Melinda, because Princess Diana is likely to be First Lady by November, as I'm likely to be mayor and the chief's likely to be governor. So check it out. When the chief's governor of California, he's going to be commander-in-chief. He's got his daughter in charge of Canada. She's commander-in-chief, but it's his daughter, Canada. He already owns Cuba free and clear, and Epstein's Island free and clear, taking over Costa Rica.